Okay, got the fuel injection pump back. They said they had some other issues with it, so they had to, besides fix the leak, they had to pretty well rebuild most of it. So I got it. I'm going to start putting it in this afternoon, and they were pretty reasonable in price and everything. So the company is pretty good. So if you're interested, you can always give them a call, get a price, and ship it in by UPS, and then ship it back out to you. Okay, we'll be installing the injector pump in just a few minutes. Okay, this is the beginning of part 2 of installing the injector pump. Now remember, the last time when we were taking it out, all the studs came out of the frame. So I had to re-clean them off. The studs, they're all clean now, the threads and everything. And I put double screw here so I can get them all screwed in. So today I'm going to put Loctite on here and then screw these back in and let them set for overnight. And then tomorrow I'll start installing the injector pump. So in here, this is where the injector goes. The gasket has to be cleaned off. The gasket material there has to be totally clean. And over there, that's just dirt. Okay.
Alert zone 1.
So make sure all the gasket material's off and everything. It is. Next we're going to use Loctite 243. And just put a little wad on there. And screw that in. What I did on the bolts, I put double nuts on it so that you lock them together. Okay, that's nice and snug. So we'll do it to each of the studs. And one more. So to get those other nuts off, you got to use a 13 millimeter. Put it on the back side and turn that like that. As you can see, then you separate the nuts. The studs are already still in there. Now take a paper towel and wipe the extra paint that's on it off, so when the gasket gets on it, it seals good. As you can see, nice and blue. Nice paper towel, isn't it? Okay, then tomorrow, after this dries, we'll put the injector pump on and start the installation. I just want to get these seated in there so that the next time we remove the injector pump, the studs won't come out. Okay, now we're getting ready to install. Got a gasket, brand new. It has to be put onto here. Now the pump. Pump is here ready to go. Gonna get the nuts. Okay, now when I put the injector pump in, the problem I'm going to have, I got to fight these hoses here. It's going to be jammed. It's only my wife and I's here, so I'm going to have to, she's got to do the camera instead of pushing the pipes out of my way. So I got to do it all myself. Okay. Make sure you line up, because you got a keyway and everything in there. Okay, there it is. It's setting in there. Now I got to take the nuts and get them started, because remember, you have to push that shaft on to that gear that's in the front. Okay, we got the nut in the very back, and we're snugging it up now. Just a little. We just want to snug up all three of these because we don't need it tight yet, because I got to put that other nut on the gear on the front and tighten it down. Now what we have to do here, put the lock washer on that shaft and the nut. Got to make sure that's on there. It's a 22mm wrench, and you got to slightly tighten it up, because you're pushing that pulley on to that shaft. I just take my time, no hurry here. As soon as it starts getting some back pressure on it, like right now, now I need to continue to tighten these other nuts up. Because we want to make sure that gasket seats in there level between the injector pump and the case. Okay, so that one's a little snug. A lot of these you can just twirl with your hand. That one on the bottom, you only can use a wrench. wish I could get my fingers in here. Make it a lot easier than using this. Because to get to that nut, I got a swivel and then extension. Okay, we're just snugging it up right now because we got to make sure that we move this timing line next. After we're done, I'm just getting it all prepped up. Okay, it's secure now. So now we're going to go back with the 22 and continue to torque this down. That's torque. That's the old man torque wrench. Not strong enough to break anything anymore. Just hope it's the right torque. Now what we got to do is this screw here. We got to loosen. I think it's 11 millimeter. I'm not sure. Nope, not 11. Must be a 10. It's a 10. Got to loosen this screw. Make sure you loosen this screw. If you do not, you'll destroy this injector pump instantly. Because that screw just hits the shaft. So the pump is stuck on top dead center. Now this little tab that you took out the last time when we removed it, put the tab back in. Just put it back into the hole. Now you tighten it down. And then when you crank it down, it won't hit the shaft anymore. Okay. There you go. Right there, it's nice and snug. Now the next thing you got to do is look for this line that's on the side and the line here. It's got to be exactly even. If it's not even, it's out of time. Now we just got to finish tightening the 13 millimeter screws down. These right here. That one's tight. That one's tight. And now the favorite one back here, which I don't know if I can do it with this wrench. Probably can't. I'll have to use the socket one more time just to give it one more oomph. Has to be on the nut level or I tighten it because I don't want to strip the nut. Almost got it. Okay, so all three of those 13s are tight. Now the next thing, we're going to have to install this pipe here, which goes back here to a clamp, and then it extends and then goes up to here. This is the next pipe that goes in. Okay, that one was a 14 millimeter. I got to get back to that after I get this on here. Then I'll come back to that and tighten that one down. On this one, take the bolt back out right here, just like so. You take the old ring off and put a new ring on it so that you don't have a fuel leak there. You put the pipe back in over here, which I'm not doing very well at. Well, at least I got it started now. Use the pipe itself to help turn the nut. Just snugging it up, it's not tight yet. Okay, now we got to put this fitting here into the hole. Like so, and we'll just leave that a little loose right at the moment. We're going to tighten these down next. Going to come back to the front one here just to loosen it a little, to take some of the pressure off a little. 16 millimeter on this side, 16 on that side. So I need two 16 millimeters. Now let's finish this one. We got to make sure this is nice and tight so it doesn't leak. Almost. One more little snug. Okay, so that one's tight now. Now we can go back to this one up here and tighten this back up. I think that's about it. Yep, that one's it. Now we go back up to the top one here and finish tightening that one. Okay, that's where we're at right at the moment. Now the next one we got to do is this piece right here. Okay, on this one we're taking the old ring off, putting the new ring on it. I'm going to lightly tighten this one up too, and naturally that's a 17 instead. Okay, now what we got to do is take a 17, screw this one down. Okay, that one's down. Now we got to take a bracket here and screw that in here to hold this in the place next. Okay, we got this bolt now. Now this one in the back that holds that support. Back needs to be inserted and snug. That right there holds the brake line, not brake line, holds the backflow line back in here. Now we can tighten this one down officially now, because remember we only snugged it. Now we're just going to give it a quick turn. Just make sure it's okay, no stress on it. There you go, that's all you need to do on that one. Now the next are the injector lines on the back side. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to do the bottom one first. In other words, do the biggest pain in the ass first. Okay, all the way up. And I think that's a 17 millimeter. And just give it a nice snug. All you gotta do, don't be Hercules and tighten these up too tight. If you do, you strip them. And I tighten this one up. There you are. I'm going to do one more here. It's going to be this one. I'm going to snug this one up too. Now the last one on the top I'm not going to snug up. I'm actually going to install it, but it's going to be loose because the pumps have been messed with. It means it's got a big air gaps in it. So a motor ain't going to start very easily anyway because of the air gaps. And so I break the line so it leaks. I'm just going to put it up to it so I can put the clamps on here first. Okay, I want to back off on that one. That one's not totally tight. Okay, now we need to put the supports for the injector lines. There you go. That one's lined up. And tighten this one just a little. Now I got to do the other side. same way. Almost there. Okay, those two are on. Now just inspect everything you did. Make sure you look at this. Make sure you loosen this and put that plate in there, because if not, you will destroy your pump. Next, we're going to screw this in on the front. Just crank it down. You can use the big pliers on it if you want. And the next thing you got to do, which is extremely important, and actually I don't have a vice grips right here. Let me go grab one. Okay, got to go, remember the plunger. Got to grab a hold of that thing. Hope I'm going to use the vice grips because I don't have as much strength. You wiggle it and make sure it's pulled out all the way, just like that. As you see, that plunger's out of the hole. If you start it up with the plunger and that pulley, it won't be nice at all. Okay, what I got to do is put this throttle back in here, but remember when I took it off, I had the nuts missing, and I just looked for a nut to fit it, and I don't have one that fit it at the moment. So we're just going to lay it back in the hole. It's probably been that way for a long time, I don't know. And if it does fall out, it just slows back down to idle, so it's not a big issue here. So I'm just going to leave it alone and for right now to test it. Remember, we got this one loose, or let me make it even looser, because I didn't loosen it all the way yet. This one here, we want to make sure it leaks right here, because when it leaks out, that's how we're going to prime the injectors a lot faster than just cranking. We got a couple sensors to put, and the bracket too on here, but the injector pump's pretty well installed except the brackets. This bracket goes here. Okay, now we got to bolt this to the block. Okay, these bolts are 10 millimeter. Okay, nicely finger tight. Okay. That one's snug. That one's snug. Okay. Take all of that off. I'm going to have a 10 millimeter wrench for the top one. Okay. The sensor here goes up here, fuel shut off. Block sensor is here. I gotta put a tie strap right here to hold this a little better. And then we can hook up the battery and crank it up. First thing we got to do, this is the fuel pump, and they have a little finger on it to pump the fuel into the injector pump. Now, if you're lucky and have an electrical pump, you just turn the key on and it will feed it to it, but we don't. This is a mechanical, so you got to push down. The first thing you do is break this line right here at the front of the injector pump. Now we're going to pump the fluid with that pump until it comes out of the top. We have that loose. And here it comes. As you can see, it's leaking just a little, but I'm going to make it leak a little more because we need to make sure all the air is out of this. Okay, we're going to loosen this a little more to make sure all the air is out of it. Okay, we're going to pump a little more. There, see the fluid come out? So pump it and make sure that you're getting a lot of those air bubbles out, which we got quite a bit out right now. I'd say that's good. Now we close this back up. And make sure that you have a pan under the engine to catch all the fluid. You like to do that, Kevin, because we're dripping a lot. Okay, that seems to be tight. Next spot we're going to go to is this part. This is the overflow part of the injector pump. So now we're going to pump it again to make sure there's fluid coming out of it. As you can see, there's fluid coming out. Okay. Make sure this pipe is not leaning on any other part because it wear a hole in it. I'm going to push this back a little further. Okay, next thing we're going to do, we'll just use the starter and crank up and make sure fluid comes out of these four. Now we're just going to crank it. We're not worried about starting it. We're just worrying about getting the fluid out. Okay, now we're getting ready to crank it. And these fittings right here, these four, you need to have the diesel to piss out of those next. Okay, that should be sufficient. Now remember, we might not have the entire air out of the system, but we're just counting on it's going to fire and suck it out anyway, the rest of it. We're getting the majority out. So now we got to retighten all of these back up. Now to do it the right way, we need to take the caps off the injector also. Okay, so the next thing you need to do is we'll come on this side. I'm just going to show you how to do one. Right here's one of the injectors, if you can see in there. Right there where my wrench is on. You just loosen that up too to get the air out of that. But we're going to be lazy because you need to loosen up all the caps on each one of those to prime those. But we're just going to try it without doing that and see if it starts or not. If it doesn't, we got to loosen them. Go for it and try it. Fan belt's squeaking, but when that fan belt goes out, it's going to take hours to change that fan belt because you got to remove the pump or loosen the head up. I've never done one. It's just I'm waiting until it breaks. So it runs, everything's done. That's how you prime the injector pump for a Cummins diesel engine. Thank you for watching my YouTube channel. I hope this was helpful and I hope you enjoyed it. When you get a chance, if you would please subscribe to my channel, that would help us out. Thank you.